whispering?
I don't know.
I hope you know that people can hear us when you whisper. Just because you whisper doesn't mean they can't hear you. Just in case you were wondering.
Now they can see us too. Did you scare yourself?
Sorry we're a little late, guys. I got distracted.
A whole 2 minutes.
First of all, this is how you know it's going to be a really good No Pants Friday after dark. Okay. I've got some booze here, some beer. So goes without saying. But what I just realized is it is 7 o'clock at night. And this one over here comes upstairs and she's got her Dunkin' Donuts. Now, here's the thing, guys. I can drink coffee. I could drink a 911 from Dutch Brothers, which is like 6 shots, like 6 extra shots in the coffee. Mm-hmm. I could have that at like 11 o'clock at night and then go right to sleepy bye.
Yep.
You drink coffee after noon.
I'll be up until 4 a.m.
And she just lays in bed like this.
I count the sound of the cracks in the ceiling.
So I just don't, I'm not really sure like what's happening right now. You just thought, you thought you were going to live dangerously?
Yeah.
I'm
not a big drinker, so.
You wanted to make sure you could keep up with me on No Pants Friday After Dark? Oh, and I even had a song in my head to do for it. No pants, 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 no pants. What?
Did you just become like a German SS officer? What is, you've got like this
inappropriate. We just started. We're not even like 5 minutes into the show. You're already gonna get us demonetized. You're starting to talk about Nazis. Not cool, man. Not cool.
Really, I'm gonna get us demonetized. Is that how that works?
Actually, the real reason I got distracted is because I thought it would be really cool to have Skiing Jesus hang out with us for the show, because it's the Jesus that Allison sent that says I heart skiing. What I did not realize, I don't know if Allison's here, I haven't seen her in the chat. What I did not realize is that ski loving Jesus actually talks.
She brought me a Jesus too, but he's in his package. I didn't want to like ruin the new in package Jesus, so he's still in his package. He might. I don't know.
All I know is all of a sudden Jesus was quoting scripture to me, and it was quite fascinating. And I couldn't really figure out like what was made. Like at first I thought it was like I pushed him on his chest, but then it's like I touched his leg, and it was like a whole nother verse. It was kind of.
You are not well.
I don't know.
Oh, geez. Cheryl says she's checking in safe from a tornado that just went through her area. Well, I'm glad that you're safe.
Mm-hmm.
Cheryl, I was thinking of you today. I listed almost all of those blankets that I took a picture of yesterday. I photographed them and listed most of them today. So.
So what's going on, everybody? It's No Pants Friday After Dark edition, which now they're all after dark.
Mm-hmm.
That's all we do. We do this. Well, we say like monthly. I think it usually happens like every 5 to 6 weeks. It seems like that's.
Yeah, when we feel like it.
Yeah.
When I'm like, it's been a while. We should figure out who we're going to have on this week.
Yeah, you know.
This week, this was my idea.
Oh, you think you're special?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to bring him out in a little bit. Greg DuPage Picker, which we call him that because when we were first doing our show, I think you kept calling him DuPage Picker, and I'm like, I think it's DuPage. And so then I basically took something and used it to mock you mercilessly for months on end, because that appears to be how I operate generally. As Trish has learned that she cannot ever tell me anything because I will most likely make fun of her and tease her about it forever.
She never lets anything go. Barbara said she loves Dana as Mrs. Roper on the wall back there. Yeah, that was one of the Christmas or birthday gift. I'm not sure. That was Dana as Mrs. Roper last year.
Yeah. I don't think it was a gift. I think she just presented it to be put on the wall.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure. Anyways, yeah, Trish says yes forever. Pretty much. Correct. As she says. Correct. Ooh, I like your little logo here, Trish.
I know. Very cute.
Very cool. I like it. Anyway, so should we bring our guest out? What do you think?
Sure.
You want to
bring him out like
like we have him hiding behind a curtain?
Like he's waiting.
He's waiting in the wings. All right, let's bring him out. Greg DuPage Picker.
Hey everyone. Hello, thanks for having me.
Now people know what you look like.
Yeah, well, some of you met me at Open.
Yes.
So that was cool, and I apologize right now for the lag with the speech and the video, but it is what it is.
Well, no,
I think
the audio.
it adds something pretty cool. I think you look like it's a kung fu movie.
Yeah, I like the kung fu movie effect. Yeah.
Yeah. But really, the audio is the most important, and that seems to be right on.
Cool.
I see Casey Rockstar Flipper is barely behaving himself in the chat.
Yeah, I witnessed his lap dance, so I can say I'm one of the few people that saw it live.
Listen, that was pretty impressive. I need to somehow figure out a way to get that and post that instead of the picture we took last year that I made him take with the guy in the mankini.
Right.
We've got to get
the man thong.
Every year we tend to up it.
Maybe Adam has the video of that or whatever.
Yeah.
Somebody has who has a video of it? I took pictures.
I don't know, but it was a pretty good one.
Somebody's been waiting. You know what? I think it's Deb. I feel like Deb said something about having video that she's been waiting to like.
Casey says, "No, I'm leaving." That was supposed to be private.
Call them out and he's out, right?
20 people. Oh man, that was good times. Good times.
Nice.
Good times. Good times. All right, Greg. What is happening? DuPage Picker. DuPage Picker.
I'm more nervous now than performing. I honestly have done probably 700, 800 shows in my life. And this is more like my heart pounding than like most of those shows. So I'm just glad the connection worked. I wish the video synced up better.
Oh, no, it's good.
I'm a perfectionist like that.
So that's a great segue into kind of our first kind of question or just kind of thing that we want you to do is to tell us a little bit about yourself. So you kind of hinted there about doing shows. What are you talking about? What do you mean? What kind of shows have you done?
I've been fortunate enough to be a professional guitarist probably since 21 years old. And I started playing at 12, did my first professional show, I think was like 18. And, you try everything. I've done original music. The planets have to line up and you need financial backing and you just need the right luck for like an original thing to work. And then after a while, you're like, I just want to play in front of people. I want to get paid. I want to just see the world. And luckily that worked out for me. And I haven't been to Europe, but I played most of pretty much, I could say almost every state in the US, South America. I've been lucky to go to Grand Cayman Islands a couple times, Puerto Rico 3 times, to Hawaii. I mean, just all over. And to go and do that on someone else's dime is awesome. And then on top of that, you're performing for people and you get that high as well. And which will lead me into thrifting and reselling, because there's a thing in the music industry called gear lust. And when you want a new guitar, you want more effects, or you want a bigger amp, you got to like trade and sell to work up to that. And
trade up.
Trade up or resell and then, buy it. And that hit me pretty young. I think when I had a paper route at 7th and 8th grade, I was doing that to buy a better guitar, or my first guitar even. So yeah, that's kind of how my reselling life started. But anyway, I could go on about that if you want, but.
Well, and Greg, you actually had like I think the coolest pins button at Open this year, shaped like a guitar pick. So picker has a double meaning there. I would like to say that Kent is out of control in the chat. He wants you to know that your hair is popping. He was insulting your roots earlier this week.
Yeah, the roots are fixed. So just
Vicky's looking nice.
Got the hair did just for you, Kent.
Yeah.
So I've chatted a couple of times with Greg about his music background, because that's one of the things that I think that we have in common is that we both love music and kind of think we connect on some of the same band. I don't know, we're close to the same age. We like a lot of the same old guys and
rockers.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, we're rockers. So I kind of like that. Would we know of any bands that you toured with? So could you consider yourself a touring musician, right? More than
Well, most of my life I booked, managed, and did everything. I played guitar, booked, managed the acts that I played in, and that's probably part of the control freak in me to do that. But
what goes into that, advancing shows and doing all the promotions. And,
you end up sometimes being like the den mother to to the other guys in the band. But I can honestly say, and it's not a huge brag, but I went through the 80s and 90s doing rock bands and touring without any drugs or alcohol. I mean, it was like, I had some alcohol, but no drugs, not even a cigarette. I'm just not into that. And to me, the high was booking the show, putting on the show, and just seeing that all come to. The show to me was kind of anticlimactic a lot of times. And but you know, I wouldn't trade it for the world. I mean, it was I'm just been blessed to be able to do that, and I think eBay and Las Vegas is where retired rockers go. So I'm working on that.
Definitely where retired rockers go.
Yeah.
What's up, you guys? So, you heard it here first. Greg is high on life. Okay.
I am. I've always been, and you know, music has always just done that for me. I grew up with the age of turntables and headphones, and that would be my drug. I just would, you know, listen to Rush and Zeppelin and all that growing up, and that just really inspired me to play. And to be honest, the playing part for me came naturally. I mean, I kid you not. I took minimal amount of lessons. I'm not a phenomenal guitarist, but I'm good enough to do shows. I call it hack enough to do shows, and to, you know, make a living for most of my life doing it. And it's been fun, a lot of fun.
I think you probably need to bust out some tasty licks here. I see people in the chat wanting to know if they're going to hear anything. I see a guitar behind you. I don't think you can get away without playing something.
We'll let you get that in a bit.
Yeah, maybe we could do it later. But I wanted to, you know, to do some stuff in sync with you guys. But I think with the lag, it's going to throw it off a bit.
Yeah, probably.
We'll still try it. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, and we'll definitely do it live one day when I'm out there.
Absolutely. No, I think it's pretty cool. Again, being a rocker chick and having a lot of friends in the business, I've done a lot of shows and promoted a lot of shows. I've kind of seen behind the curtain, as you would call it, and not everybody has seen that, because you know, you grow up with all these guys and these rockers on your wall and these posters and stuff. And once you see behind the curtain and get to know these musicians as people, you kind of go, oh, it's a little bit disappointing sometimes.
It is, and people just are not professional sometimes, and they're just in it, you know, to get drunk or get laid or whatever. And
well, that's why most people get into it, for sure.
Yeah, and that's great. That's what rock and roll's for, I guess, especially when you're, you know, teenage and in your 20s. But if you really want to take it, you know, to the next 5 levels, you have to treat it like a job. And that is the advice I tell other bands that are coming up, like, you know, how can my band stay together longer? And I just said, you know what, take as much crap as you took at your job and take that much crap in your band. Mm-hmm. Don't get upset when the drummer does something to piss you off. Don't be quitting the band over this little stuff. You know, take as much crap as you would take at a job. You hate that job, but yet you go there every day and you take crap from your boss, right? So, you know, that's the advice I give, I guess.
I see Susan Sanders in the chat here. She's actually here in Vegas as well. She's a drummer. I'm thinking, Greg, when you come to Vegas, you guys might need to start a reseller band.
Yeah, why not? Why not?
Which, speaking of, aren't you, like, what's going on with you coming to Vegas?
You know, I'm working on it, and I'm really wanted it to happen by Thanksgiving. I just, my death piles are overtaking me and causing me a lot of anxiety. I think I'm just going to have to part with it and just be like, here, Salvation Army, and just start over, I think, at some point. And
put it in a truck. Put it in a truck.
I know. I'm working on all. I don't know if I want to bring my car or get rid of the car and get another one there. I'm still working all out, but it is like, that's really my last thing on my bucket list, really. I mean, I've had a great life, and really my last thing that I really want to accomplish is live in Vegas. I lived in Phoenix, outside of Phoenix, Paradise Valley, for 3 years. I love the Southwest. Some people are water people. I'm a desert guy. I love the desert. I love the mountains. I just find it very uplifting that you can look out your window and see mountains on top of sun for 360 days of the year.
Yeah, it's pretty great.
That is just,
really,
you know,
great.
The vitamin D and all that, just, I just went out.
Yeah, I mean, people have seen a couple of things in there, you know, asking if I was a groupie and joking about that. I absolutely was a groupie. I was the kind of groupie that didn't sleep with the band members. Which is why I'm still friends with a lot of them. So I'm still a groupie. I love music.
Yeah, and that's
You still there? You're cutting out.
Oh, you cut out.
Sorry, I don't know if that's me or what, but yeah, that's proof as well that you can be in music and you don't have to be, you know, the stereotype. And that's, you know.
Yeah, we have a lot of friends here who are working musicians. It's kind of cool because almost any week we can go out and watch some of our friends play some music, and it's fun.
That's awesome.
So I'm hoping that when you get here, you're going to start like some really cool band.
I already told him he's going to be my concert buddy because he likes more music that I like than you do. So
yeah, that's true.
You've got a built-in concert buddy. right here.
Thank you. And I'll definitely take you up on that. And I think where I see the future, if I do anything with music, is going to be more like management. And then maybe I'll do like acoustic coffee house stuff myself. But I'll get into maybe management or even being a guitar technician for a bigger band. You know,
there's a lot of that. And I can definitely introduce you to some people once you get out here too. So.
That's awesome. I appreciate that.
Vicki,
I mean, I do also, the only technical like college I went to was for recording. So I have that as well. One of the compliments, the biggest compliments in my life was after I graduated, they offered me to be a teacher at the school that I went to. So, I mean, that was just like awesome to know that they thought that I grasped it enough to teach other people. But I had just moved back to Chicago like 2 weeks earlier when they offered me to go, you know, to be a teacher in Phoenix. And I had to turn it down. I was just going through some issues with, I was married at the time and all that. So there was a lot of stuff going on and I just had to regroup. And I was already back in Chicago. So anyway, we all have our story.
Well, and so speaking of shows, you also have, you've done a live radio. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
I get asked all the time, how did you get a show on WGN, 50,000 watt radio station, 38 states, Mexican, Canada, all that. And I tell people listing is how I got the show because, you know, as you know, listing can be lonely. So I have talk radio on the background and then, you know, crazy me, I start thinking these people are my friends and I could just text into the station whenever I want to. So I start doing that and you become friends with them. And, they were talking, hey, we should do a show called Swap Meet where one guy calls them with one thing and 5 people want to trade him for it. And I thought that was cool. So I started texting some of the weird Chicago stuff that I have. Like I have, I actually have it right here. Jane Byrne coloring book. If you know who Jane Byrne is, she was a former mayor of Chicago. And hopefully you can see this. It will come up here. Oh, so this was the first picture I texted into the show. And I'm sorry about the lag.
She looks like a really happy person.
Yeah.
She's loving, like, I think she might be like you, Greg. She's high on life.
Right.
She doesn't have
under my eyes like me, yeah. And then the second thing I texted in was the flag used at the Super Bowl 20 that the Bears won back in 1986, and that will come up here shortly on the screen. And this, I don't know if you can see it, but this has instructions on when to wave this flag. And if you see the halftime act at Super Bowl 20 was Up With People. Can you even imagine like Up With People being a halftime act these days? Anyway, so the person around the show thought that it was awesome. He's like, you want to come in and bring some of this stuff? And I'm like, sure. And I went in, the phone lines lit up, text lines lit up. He's like, you want to do this once or twice a month? I'm like, sure. Did that. And then it's like, you want to do this every week? And so it's been a lot of fun. And that leads to more. I ramble, so just stop me.
I think it's interesting.
That leads me to people who complain about Goodwill prices and stuff like that. You don't have to have a radio show, but give out your business cards. Make a name for yourself because the stuff will find you. I mean, it's just awesome that I don't have to rely on, going to Goodwill. I love to go to estate sales, don't get me wrong, and I love hoarder estate sales. I will spend 2 hours digging through every box under the bed everywhere to find stuff at a hoarder sale. But I don't have to care about Goodwill pricing, because every show I do, I get 2 or 3 phone calls. Hey, I had one guy said, bring a truck. You can have my dad's whole contents of his house. And I showed up in my Kia Soul and he was like, where's your truck? And I was just like, I only can take what I can fit in the car. And I actually went back for another load, but he thought I was going to take the whole house. And when you get stuff like that and you're getting first crack at stuff like that, you're fine. I mean, I don't have to worry about sourcing, that's for sure.
Well, so. You always hear people saying like they don't like telling people that they're resellers, they don't want to let anyone know, or they're in the thrift store and they don't want, somebody asks them a question, they're like, how do I answer that? And I just think
never lie.
I think like 9 times out of 10, it actually leads to better things because people get excited and it's almost like they want to help you for some reason. Right. And even the thrift store workers, they're excited to like show you stuff that just came in. And as long as you're like a cool, nice person and you aren't like going in and destroying the racks like some people do at the thrift stores. It does always end up with a good opportunity.
You can read people when you roll up on a garage. So you can read people. Are they like trying to get every penny out of the thing? Or are they just trying to get rid of the stuff? So then, once you buy the item you wanted to buy, then you can kind of talk a little bit more. You already have the item. So if they don't like you after that, you're done. You
That's
know,
exactly what I do.
And then you say, hey, if you got any more other, here's my card, you know, give me a call, and that happens. And, you know, it's, and I've heard you say, Vicki, many times, like what you miss about being in Vegas versus the East Coast is the vintage stuff.
Yes,
and
I do. And
that's
it's going to be a hard adjustment for you.
That's why I think the plan is to really sort out my vintage and bring that and
bring it with you
and leave a lot of the newer stuff that I could probably get at a Savers, you know. So that's kind of the sorting process that I'm thinking, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, like get rid of anything that's not special or rare or stuff like that.
Yeah, when I moved here, I had an 18-foot moving truck, but we also packed the majority of the house. You know, you have all your household stuff. So I could have filled an 18-foot moving truck with just my eBay shit, right? Wow. So I had to get rid of it. I got rid of almost everything. I sold it wholesale to another reseller. I advertised that I was selling my entire business, and I just cherry picked I think I had 200 items I brought with me, and they were all over $100, and the rest I just got rid of. Yeah. And I think I sold like 1,500 items for like $3,000. I mean, the guy that bought it got a great deal, but I got rid of it, and I just started over again when I moved here.
See, and all of my stuff was listed because I've never really had death piles, and so it was funny because I got rid of. I mean, if anybody who goes back and like watches the very early videos of this channel, you know, I got rid of so much stuff. I didn't bring any furniture because Vicki already had a whole house full of stuff, and I didn't have anything special that was worth saving. So I got rid of everything. All my personal stuff fit in my car, and the U-Haul was filled with all my inventory, but it was all listed already. So I didn't get rid of any inventory.
Yeah. So someone said between the two of us, we have a lot of music knowledge. Greg definitely has far more music knowledge than I do. I have a lot of music knowledge about a very small genre. Yeah. That's 80s.
But
80s,
I will never brag. I will never brag because between yourself and Dana, for sure, you guys have better stories than I do. I mean, I have a few, but I think you guys would top me any day. You know,
I'm an 80s music fan, and I know a lot about 80s hair band music and 80s metal, and that's my only genre though. So I really don't know much about anything outside of that.
Well, so my question would be, Greg, you know, well, when did you start playing guitar first?
Like I was 12. And,
you were 12. So who at that time, I don't know if you have one person or multiple people, who were like your idols as far as
influence,
like your influences? Like who are you trying to pretend to be?
My biggest influence. Okay, so I have to go back. 12 years old, my mom bought me an acoustic guitar, and I took 2 lessons and I quit, and I put it in the corner and collected dust because I'm an idiot, and I thought that's not a cool guitar. I need an electric guitar. That's cool, right? So literally the guitar sat in the corner, collected dust. I had a paper route, and I saved for my first electric and first amp and electric guitar, that is. And then it was like, you know, I just had blinders on. It had to be an electric guitar. And then from there it took off. So the first band that really like I wanted to just be was Rush. Alex Lifeson of Rush was like my biggest influence. Obviously Jimmy Page from Zeppelin was a huge influence. And I'm going to get into something here that maybe the people in the chat will respond. I don't know. Maybe we could do press 1 if when metal came, you went the metal route. Press 2 if you went the alternative route. Because like at that time, there were, you know, there was the metal scene, and then there was bands like U2, The Police, REM in the alternative scene. And there'd be a show on MTV every Sunday night called 120 Minutes. And that's really what I was into. You know, I was into, my forte is kind of, so that's right. So put 1 for a Hairbanger's Ball and 2 for 120 Minutes or what was it called? IRS Cutting Edge.
I'm actually know Ricky Rackman now as an adult, which is weird. So, but I was a Headbangers Ball fan for sure.
Yeah. So, so I kind of went the alternative route and got into that. And that's really, I can't say I'm a big U2 fan these days. I really just kind of have gotten sick of the last couple of albums, and not so much the music, but just the attitude of, okay, we're going to withhold the next album because our president didn't win. And I don't care who you like as president, but no band should hold back an album because their president didn't win the election.
I'm not a YouTube fan of it at all. I never have been.
Yeah, and that was just like
I think Bono's a little too political for me. Just
and really, and So that happened, and that really kind of cut it with me because I toured and did everything as a U2 tribute band guitarist. I mean, you try the original stuff, and then I got into the tribute band thing, and I did tributes to the Police, U2, REM, 3 different bands. The U2 one obviously went the furthest and made the most money and got the most whatever. If you punch in Vertigo USA U2 tribute band El Salvador, you'll see me in front of 8,000 people, and I'm thinking, multiply this by 5, and this is probably like what the first Beatles concert sounded like, because it literally was that jet engine sound from the crowd. And the first time that you really experienced that, I mean, I played, House of Blues. I played all the big venues, like 1,000-seat venues across the country. And then also the thing that's weird is you go through El Salvador and you got armed guards in front of the stage. That was kind of blowing my mind. And that's a story that Bon Jovi says too, that playing those places and you got armed guards in front of the stage. That was just really mind blowing. But we did a show there with Good Charlotte. So that was kind
of that's pretty awesome. Wow.
Yeah.
I think the really good tribute bands, like it sounds like that's what you were in, the really good ones that actually get booked all around the country and all around the world. Those are sometimes more fun than the actual bands because you get to hear the music you love in the style you love it in, because it's a tribute. Nobody's taking liberties with the music. But the people are more down to earth and not taking themselves quite as seriously because you're not the rock star. So you're just playing great music that you love and that the audience loves. So I really like good tribute bands. I've always loved good tribute bands.
Yeah, and obviously I never look like the Edge, so I never had that. And it would be so funny. Like I would do the show, 600 people in the crowd. I do the show. I could literally step down and go to the bar and get a drink, and no one would even think that I was even in the band. I've had like there'd be some drunks at the end of the night. And, I have some friends around me talking to me. And then like you get some drunks walk up and I was like, who is he? And I'm like, and those, the people say, he's the guitarist that was in the band tonight. And they'll be drunk and like, he's not even in the band. They're all like drunk, like just whatever. It's just funny,
How did you feel about the movie Forgetting Sarah Marshall?
I never saw the whole thing. And here's another subject we'll get at. I am not a movie guy. I don't know how to explain.
The character that is obsessed with the band Rush, and he has friends.
I will definitely. I'm gonna write down and put it on my list then.
Yeah. He's obsessed with the band Rush, and and so a lot of it is him and his friends like playing Rush songs, and so I think for somebody who loved Rush as a kid would probably get a kick out of that movie.
I didn't know that. I will definitely check it out, and I'm like would be a great clinical study of someone who's not watched TV in 2 years. I watch YouTube only. I think I binge watched Mad Men to check out the, all the props and everything to look for what to buy. And I think, I binge watched Sons of Anarchy, and that was it. Like in the last 2 years, everything else, I'm just YouTube. I watch everything. And that's the advice I give to people. If you're really passionate about being a reseller, just be a sponge and take it all in and just watch everybody. And, I don't have money to be paying for courses. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to watch and take everyone's
all the information is out there for free. It's walking through it and finding the stuff that's going to help you. But Amanda Clark of Clark West Trading says that she thinks that we should start looking for land so that everyone can just move to Vegas and we'll have a boss compound.
There's
a lot of land out here.
They're so funny because that's what I was thinking. Like, wouldn't it be great to have like kind of a commune eBay house where 5 eBay? That would just be a great reality show right there, right?
It really would.
Hey, you know what? To actually take that into reality, like why not have, if somebody had the money to actually do it and get together a few buildings or whatever and have like an eBay or like reseller retreat space.
Right.
We talked about that.
Well, yeah, but that was something much smaller. So this was like something, and it was just not something we were talking about doing.
No.
Something we were talking about with somebody else. But the idea of being able to go, rather than buying these courses online, like going on like a reseller retreat where you go away for like a week and you get to have like super bonded
with crash course,
and you get a bond with other resellers, and it just be super fun. So why not do it on a compound out in the middle of nowhere in Nevada?
Right. Hey, I'm all for it. If someone wants to help start it, I'm available.
All right. So we want to get through a couple of these questions.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
he's told us the first.
We know you're a reseller. We know you play music, but he hasn't told us that because we don't know how, Greg, how you got involved in reselling. We just know you sell. So
okay.
you were a musician and everything, but where does reselling fit into everything?
Trading up to buy new gear.
Right. That's where it started, was like trading up to get new gear. Back in the day, type one, if you've ever heard of a publication called Trade-in Times, you had to actually place an ad in there to like sell stuff. I would sell drum machines or, guitars or cables or effects pedals, stuff like that. And you had to have your ad in by like Thursday to have it out the next Tuesday.
Was it kind of like the nickel ads?
Yeah, I guess if that was at a newspaper or a publication.
It was like a newspaper. It was like yellow, and it was called
every week they would change the color of the magazine, so you knew you had like the new edition. Ooh. Anyway, so that's where my selling started. And then of course, when the music took off, I really didn't sell too much. I mostly bought on eBay. I've been on eBay since 2002. But when I got out of playing about 4 or 5 years ago, that's when you need money, you start selling stuff. And I had a lot of rock memorabilia, and I just started getting rid of it. And you're not going to believe this, but I was down to 4 boxes lined up on my couch. That's what I was down to. And I went from those 5 boxes to death piles galore. I mean, I have like 3 rooms of like piles and piles of stuff now. And just to think, like, I had my life down to 5 boxes on a couch. So that's where, when I got serious about reselling, I just started going to every estate sale and garage sale and church sale. And, it's just crazy how, that's why I don't feel bad if I have to get rid of it. I know I can get most of it again. I do want to keep the vintage stuff, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm. For sure. Okay, so I see there was some questions. I think it was either Deb or Mel in the chat wanting to know what you sell. Like, what kind of stuff do you sell?
Okay. I mean, pretty much what Vicki sells, that's pretty much, other than some of the dresses or, lingerie type stuff. I am into vintage, anything vintage electronics. It's just one-off stuff, really. I very rarely have something that has a quantity, but yeah, it's just, I love vintage stuff. I love, growing up, I was the kid who circled everything in the Sears catalog, for Christmas, and only got like one thing. So now it's great when you go to an estate sale, you can buy that stuff, you can find it. And so now I can mentally check it off my list. Okay, I did own that at one point, but then you sell it and you make good money on it. And as the more you do it, it's like a muscle. The more you exercise the muscle, you're honing, and you're just the taste and the eye for stuff. It just becomes easier, and you're able to find it. And you don't have to worry about going to a estate sale at 2:00 in the afternoon, because a lot of people are going to walk by this stuff. So you can. Oh
yeah, for sure. I mean, we found, like, you go on the second day, and Vicki finds like a ton of stuff. Yeah. I mean, like the specific stuff that I get, the vintage streetwear, like, that's going to be gone. If you go to an estate sale that has that kind of stuff, it's going to be gone right away. But because Vicki goes for a lot of different stuff and a lot of like interesting things that people don't know about. Yeah. We'll go on the second day, we'll go on the last day, and she'll still find a whole bunch of like really valuable stuff that nobody bothered to pick up.
Yeah, I had to laugh at Kent's comment in the chat. He said, "We were so poor, all I got was the catalog."
All right.
I get it. But
I remember like getting the Sunday paper, and the Sunday paper was where all the ads were for all the stores. So this was, I'm sure they still do that, but this was in the 80s. And like going in and circling the toys that I wanted, and I wouldn't.
Mine was the Sears catalog or the Toys R Us catalog. You waited for that Christmas catalog to come out every November.
Mm-hmm. I think now I'm more excited when I see the actual Sears or Penny's catalogs from the 70s, because they're worth money. Right? They're like $50, $80, $100 sometimes. Especially this time of year.
For the 60s for like $100.
Right. Mm-hmm. I love the Wards ones. Like, I think the Wheelhouse is like 68 to 70. If you have those years, those are like $80 to $100, and I love finding those.
Like serious nostalgia. Pacific 49 wants to know, Greg, is that a vintage Chucky on your top shelf back there?
It's not vintage. It's Bride of Chucky, so it's a little bit newer. But it moves its head and talks, and it is listed if you want to buy it.
Bride of Chucky's like late 90s, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that's technically,
I guess technically it's vintage.
According to Etsy, that's vintage.
Yep. Yeah,
he's old school enough though that I'm betting you think like I do. Vintage is like 25 years and older.
Yeah, I'm thinking like 79, 80s, early 80s are vintage to me. I have to remember that, 1999 is vintage.
You guys don't like to think about how old we are.
Well, that too. But Etsy changed the rules. Etsy changed the rules by making any 20 years and older vintage.
Yeah, and I like that. I'm because you get to use that, and you know how many people search that term. Not too many people will search a lot of other terms, but they will put vintage when they're looking for some stuff. So that's kind of neat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. So what's the weirdest thing that you've ever found, sourced, come across in your in
The weirdest would have to be, I think I posted on Instagram a couple of weeks ago or last week, was a unused pack of Bubble Yum pink lemonade gum. And the person who sold it before me, they got $316 for it. I kind of went with the fast nickel on it. Sometimes I do that. So I sold mine for $80, an unused pack of Bubble Yum bubble gum from.
That's crazy.
That was my favorite gum, to be fair.
I remember having that. How
lemonade gum. That was my favorite.
Another fun story I like to tell is third day of an estate sale. It was a hoarder sale, stuff all over, and I myself probably even walked over this piece of cardboard. It was face down, so just like the dark gray or brown, whatever part of the cardboard was showing. And the last day of the sale, I happened to flip it over, and it was a tray for bubble gum from like the 1950s during the Cold War. It had the cutout rocket ships that, you can fold to make them stand on a table. They did that at the back of cereal boxes too. Mm-hmm. And I flipped it over and I saw this thing. It's like 1950s. And I sold that it got bids up to $56 for just that, piece of cardboard. And
you sell a lot of ephemera.
I love ephemera, and I'm going to love it even more in the future because it's easy to pack. It's easy to, ship. Doesn't take a lot of room. You can pack thousands of pieces in a couple file cabinets. So that's really kind of my next life with the eBay is the ephemera. I love it. And
you'll have to source online. There's not going to be a lot of sources for it.
Right.
Here.
And that's what I've learned from you is I got to, pack the stuff that I know I'm not going to find there. So that's really a key. Can I tell another story about this is going to really make me sound pompous, but I was in a estate sale. You sign up on the list, you're waiting, you go maybe grab some McDonald's, come back to the estate sale half an hour before they open. And so people are coming back, and this was a hoarder sale. There had to be 60 people maybe in line. And while we're waiting, we're lined up by number. And while we're waiting, the people running the sale are throwing out some stuff. We had bad rains or something, some flooding, and they were throwing out the stuff that got wet in the big piles on the front lawn while there's 50 people waiting, in line. I'm walking up to take my place in line, and the guy actually about 5 minutes before I'm walking up, the guy threw out a box for a NEC video game. I can't remember the name of the model now, but it was from the late 80s, early 90s. And it was the kind that took the PCM cards. They look like credit cards, and that was the type of media that they took. Anyway, I had sold the system before without the box, and he threw the box out. And I'm like, I could probably get $20 or $30 for that box. So I took the box off the pile, walked back to my car, and you should have seen all the heads turn of everyone that was in line. They're like, what the hell does this guy know that I don't know? And it was just great to be like, have that knowledge to be like, just to find something like that. And I end up selling that thing for $86. Now, mind you, I spent $80 at the estate sale. So that empty box that they threw out just paid for everything I bought at the estate sale. So it's all gravy, right?
I love those kind of days.
Yeah, those are great days. And, a hoarder sale to me can carry you through for months. I mean, you know how it is. You're not going to find a lot of stuff every week. I mean, I just don't source that hard to find all that. But, when you can get a good hoarder sale, it can last 2 or 3 months, and maybe longer, and then you find another hoarder, and that just keeps you going.
It's just crazy, all the stuff that people have.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the other questions on our question list is, what kind of tips or tricks have you picked up from your job, your day job that you may have had being a musician? What have you picked up that is translated from that to this job?
Wow. All I can really think of is kind of the knowledge of instruments and effects and stuff like that, to know what to look for, to know what that stuff did. So sometimes you just see a piece of electronic, you don't know what it is, you got to look it up, and and then I also know how it works, so sometimes I can plug it in and tell right away like how it works or if it does work, and then you can base your price what you're going to charge off of that as well. But
that's
yeah,
an important thing, because I buy a lot of vintage electronics and I don't know crap about them.
Yeah,
I'm winging it most of the time.
yeah.
So if I knew a little bit more how to test certain things, I'm sure I would ask for more money. So that's a skill.
You know, and you would think being a musician, I sell a lot of guitars or something. No, I think I've only sold 3 guitars in 5 years. But the guitars I do sell, I get them really cheap. I'll get them like $20. I think one a few months back sold. I think I got it for $60 and I sold it for $375. And I really didn't touch anything on it because it was vintage. I didn't want to ruin anything. I didn't want to fix it. This was someone's project that they were going to do, and I just wanted to sell like that. And it's great because you get a lot of some messages sometimes through eBay like, you're smoking, what are you asking that much for, and you know, whatever. But you know, there's some 1 or 2 people out there that, you know, that want that item and they'll pay up for it, you know. So I learned from you guys the whole thing of perception or perceived value is a thing.
Absolutely.
Okay, if everyone can remember that tonight, perceived value is a thing.
So we have a couple of very important questions.
That's the same thing for me with posters are art. If you find vintage posters, even though they look like, oh, that's just a crappy poster, they're art, you know, and you just need the right people to see it and they'll pay up for it. I sell posters for $300-400. I think I've sold 4 Kiss posters one time for $900. You know, it's perceived value, and you just got to be, you know, stubborn enough to stick to your guns, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
Have faith in your product, for sure.
So we have a couple of very important questions in the chat. First of all, Susan Sanders would like to know if you are single.
Yes, I am single.
There you go. Okay, and coming to Vegas. All right.
Single and coming to Vegas and a musician. Susan is our very attractive drummer friend that lives here in Vegas.
Nice.
We may have to make a little connection here, a little coffee chat.
All right.
All right. And then,
go ahead.
And then the other question that I would like to know the answer to, Sonny wants to know if you have any vintage Mad Magazine books. I know when I was a kid, I loved Mad Magazine and Cracked Magazine, and I would get them from the grocery store across the street. I lived in a tiny town, and Ditter's Grocery across the street, they had magazines. I get Mad Magazine probably once every like 6 months or so. My dad would find my hidden stash of Mad and Cracked. And he'd throw them out because he thought they were very inappropriate. Yeah. And he would. And then I'd have to stock back up on my Mad magazines.
So
right now I don't have any, but I have sold them in the past. And the same time, like those were out in the 70s, I think, as well, and the early 80s. And around the time of the 70s, I was more into what were wacky packs, the stickers that made fun of products, you know. I was more into those than Mad or Cracked Magazine, but I did have a few of them as a kid. And now I pick them up, especially if they're mid-80s. I definitely pick them up. If they're newer, sometimes I'll pass on them. Condition is everything, of course, but whatever.
Oh, yeah. There's a seller that I really like. I follow her on Instagram now, but I found her because I bought a movie soundtrack. She's really into horror movie soundtracks and stuff, and so she only ever has like 15 albums or whatever up in her store, but it's really cool because when you buy something from her, she always adds like little goodies in with it, and so
like a sticker or
even better than that. They're not over there, but they're back there. But even better than that, like, you know, I'd get like a horror soundtrack from her, and she would include like the old Mad magazine that has like the cover from that movie on it.
Right. Yeah.
Really cool.
Yeah. Their thing for sure. We did one of the radio shows one time. Someone called in and I ran with it, and I happened to look it up, and just one wacky pack card sold for over $2,000. It was great. It was graded, but $2,000 for like a 1972 wacky pack card. So
Karen says she still has her wacky packs.
Yeah, check them out. I think 71, 72 is the wheelhouse on those, and yeah, you definitely should look them up.
I think these are pretty funny. So we've got some people chatting still chatting in our chat because, of course, it's Friday night, so they're getting a little risque in there. But It's kind of funny because we were talking about getting a whole compound. Now they're like, so Kent's like, who said it in there? Actually, it was Aaron. Aaron Kluge says, so will we be assigned mates on the compound?
It'll be like Big Brother or something, you know.
Yes, we'll have a series of questions that we will ask everyone.
Somebody's like, that's a cult.
We will determine.
Yeah.
We will determine who would make the best connection, and yes, that's how the Reseller Retreat will happen.
Yep.
Yeah.
It is a nighttime show. Chuck Woolery said nothing on us.
Yeah. I'm so tempted to put together like the reseller dating site, because I just cannot be with someone who is not like an entrepreneur or a reseller. That's just not going to happen going forward, because the relationships I was in the last 5 years, you know, I've been single a couple years now. I just, if you're with someone who's 9 to 5 and you're a reseller, it's just not happening. It's just
hard. It's hard because they don't really get it.
Well, it's hard, and they don't get it. And, you know, I hear these stories of people saying that, you know, the person that they're with doesn't support what they do. And even, you know, Vicki and I work a lot. We've talked about this before. We work, you know, 7 days a week a lot of times.
Right.
But because we both do the same thing and we're both home together, it's, you know, if it was only one of us, like that wouldn't fly in a relationship. You'd be like, it would be the end of the relationship, because you can't be working nonstop if I was leaving the house and just gone 7 days a week all day long.
Well, add to it this, your spouse or partner hates their job and they have to get up every morning at 5:30 or 6 to go to that job, and then they see what you do. So I mean, you can imagine, you know, how that builds up over time, right?
Kent's being a jerk and says, "Oh, now Greg is picky."
I turned off the chat because Kent intimidates me sometimes. I'm joking. No, he knows his stuff. I've seen his chat.
Yeah, he can be pretty rotten sometimes.
And then Victoria over here. Victoria's going back in the gutter. Victoria's always.
Oh, Victoria, I love her. I got my picture with her at Open. That was awesome.
Yep. Everyone tossed their room keys into a hat.
Oh no!
It's not going to be that kind of compound, Victoria.
Right.
Bad girl.
Hey, you don't make the rules.
Yeah. So no, I just, like I said, I'm just holding out for a reseller or a entrepreneur. You know,
there you go.
Just
somebody that understands the hustle.
Yep.
Yeah. Like I think it was Bearded Picker that said it recently. If you are a reseller, you're damaged goods to 9 to 5. You know, you're just can't do it.
If you're a good reseller, you're damaged goods 9 to 5. I think that's key.
The idea of being tied down to like a set schedule and having to go and be somewhere at a certain time. I don't want to do it. All right, here's my one of my favorite questions that we ask on this show. First time I ever heard this question, it made me go, So Greg, when did you first realize, or do you remember having a realization that you were an adult? Like a decision you had to make, or something, an experience?
Probably when I got the first bill in my name, like back in the day, the first cable bill or the first, you know, rent of an apartment or an electric bill. Probably that's when it really kind of hit me. I've been fortunate, and family's been very supportive. Being a musician, you know, the saying behind every musician is a supportive partner, spouse, wife, husband. So I've been fortunate with that, and so I'm grateful for the people who supported me through that. But I still had my own apartment or whatever. I've never owned a house. That's one thing. I have Peter Pan syndrome in a way.
Yeah, so it's overrated.
Yeah. So, but what I will tell people is, if there's something you want to do, you need to be doing it, because tomorrow is not guaranteed. Everyone hears that. But, I think some people just get it in their head, like, oh, I'm going to do that when, my next life or my next few decades. Yeah. And I don't buy into that we're living longer. I mean, I know too many people with, cancer and other things. And it's just, if you haven't done it, by the time you're 55, 60, you better be doing it. If that's
life is too short.
The reality is that we're really not here that long. And even if you live this amazing full life, and like my grandma is still around, still kicking, still totally sharp and with it, and she's in her mid-90s, and it's like, even then, like, it's not, the time goes faster and faster as you get older. And it's like, why be scared of doing something that you want to do? I'm so glad that I get to do something that I love.
And I love what we do, and we love what we do. I've owned a home. I could own again.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I like the flexibility of not having, let's face it, I'm 44 years old. even if I bought a home now, you're still going to have a mortgage for 30 years. You're always going to have a housing payment. And if you actually have a CPA that and run your business properly, you should have a housing payment. I don't care how much money you have. You need to have that tax write-off, whether it's through a mortgage or a housing payment of some kind. So you should never have your home paid off, because your equity, having all that equity is not good for anybody that needs that financial investment. But I'm not saying you shouldn't own, but owning something free and clear is not the be all and end all. But you're going to have a mortgage for 30 years. You're going to have a housing payment anyway. I like where I live. If something goes wrong, the landlord comes and fixes it. We have a nice home. It's a big home. Plenty of room for people to come and visit. Plenty of room for two people to run a reseller business under the same roof and not kill each other. Room for our inventory. If I were to buy a house this big, it's a $500,000 house. I have no desire to do that and maintain the taxes.
Don't get me wrong. I knew when I was playing Rockstar all my life, I knew there'd be hell to pay at some point. And, but I wouldn't trade it for the world, to be honest. I got to do something I really love to do. And, I had way too much fun. And, nowadays when I hang out with people that I think they think I'm boring, but I just I had way too much fun back then. And that was like without drugs and major alcohol. I mean, I'm telling you, you wouldn't believe. Vicki, you and I have talked a little bit. I think you'll believe it, but most people would not believe the life I've had. My next chapter is really reselling, and then writing a screenplay or a book about different sections of my life, because a few of them would end up on Lifetime Network. They're weird and scary. Yeah. So I mean, that's I guess could be a bucket list thing for me.
I love hearing stories, and we'll talk more as we get to know each other better when you move here. But I love hearing those type of stories. I love sitting down with my musician friends that are still playing now, or the ones that used to play and got to the level you were at, or even bigger. And, hearing those stories, because I'm not a musician. I'm not a frustrated musician. I know I can't play a damn thing. So I've never wanted to be in a band, but I'm just an uber fan of music. And I love hearing the stories from all the travels and all the fun stories and the crazy stories. And I'll tell you what, the musicians that I know that are still playing, they're the ones that are sober, and they're the ones that are clean.
I have to say though, I kind of feel bad for some of the people who were musicians who made it like huge in the 80s, but they had like such a short-lived amount of time where they got to be amazing and loved and play in front of like these huge coliseums. And now it's like they're here in Vegas. We're gonna go see a few tomorrow night, playing in front of 1,000 people at a casino. Barely getting by.
I have a couple thoughts.
That's got to be tough. Sorry. Like, I've done lots of really cool things in my life, but every kind of step of the way has been a different chapter where different things have happened. I think it would be hard to kind of feel like you hit your peak, and then nothing after that, like in your 20s, and then nothing after that ever lived up to it.
Okay, here's a funny story. When I was, in the 80s and 90s, I'm doing the rock thing, and I would hear stories about bands, as they got older, they would just go off and raise sheep somewhere like in Norway, and I'm like, why would you even do that? Like, you are this amazing musician. You should be doing this music till you die, right? And
the movie
they would do that.
Rockstar. They went to go take a piss.
Right. And now that I'm older, I totally get it. I'm like, I don't want to raise sheep in a field somewhere, but you just want to just be away from it. And I went through a heavy burnout period. Like I said, I could write a couple Lifetime movies, and at the end there, 5 years ago, it really just all kind of blew up to the point where I just had to stop. I just had to get out. And I've been doing it for 30 something years of my life. And it got that bad. And people are like, why aren't you playing? Why don't you still play? And I just don't feel the desire to want to do it. I'm finally now, I think in the last maybe year, 6 months to a year, I actually picked up a guitar. I didn't touch a guitar for 2 or 3 years. I was just so burnt out from it. And to be honest, my intro video was the first time I think I sang a song by myself. I think I've always done backup vocals, and I have a terrible voice. I know it, but it's like putting yourself out there. And I'll give a shout out to Kimmy. She does the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 thing. Get off your ass and do it. And, so that, and you guys help motivate me to do that. And, I just learned so much from YouTubers, and you guys are definitely number one as far as the YouTubers that I follow.
Well, we will get
we
you
appreciate
when
it.
you move here. We will get you up on stage and do some jam nights or
I mean,
something. I bet you'd like that.
I want to say I appreciate that because I mean it's true. I have a pretty amazing voice.
You do.
Yeah,
You
I
do.
have a pretty good voice. And in fact, I want to bust it out here for a second because Jamie, are you still in the chat? I haven't seen you say anything in a little bit. Jamie, she comes and hangs out with us in the chat sometimes. She just, I don't know what her day's been, what happened with her day today, but apparently it's been one of those days.
Oh,
It was, she called it the day from hell.
Mhm.
It's been a little rough. And so now she's home and she's like forgetting about all of it. And I told her to come and hang out with us and I would sing her a song, a special song just for her. So since Greg has just, really highlighted the amazingness of my vocal abilities.
Right. I won't even debate it.
oh, jeez.
Jamie, see, she's right there. She's crying laughing. She did say she didn't know if she should cry or she should laugh, but now apparently she's here. I'm gonna go ahead and show everybody. She's cry laughing right now, guys. Jamie, she's had a bad day. Jamie, it's been a real shit day. Jamie, she's got 2 M's in her name because she's so awesome. 1 M wasn't enough. What do you
Nice.
think about that?
Oh, dear God.
That's awesome. Okay,
You like
so
that?
being a musician, I could tell, Katie, you've done like improv and you've done, because you can't just make that up. Not a lot of people can just make that up on the fly. And not just tonight, but, I watched more than a year of your videos and I think that's great. I mean, that might be something else I want to do too, is take an improv class or something too. So
I hear you.
Katie would do something like that. I'm way too self-conscious. I could never do improv. She would love it.
Well, I used to do theater.
I know you did.
yeah, and that's
Anyway,
how I can tell that.
I did like I did high school drama, and then after high school, I did a few years of in the it was like a musical theater out in Enchanted Forest, which is like a local mini Disneyland outside of Salem. But Trish Glenn, excuse me, Trish, saying no.
Seriously.
Trish, don't you like my singing? Trish, what's up with you? Trish, where's your young husband? Did you guys know that Trish is the ultimate cougar?
Trish is a cougar.
She's a
Wow.
cradle robber, and right now isn't he like out of town or something?
He's working nights.
There's working nights. What? That's why she's stuck here hanging out with us, listening to me sing to her, and giving her a hard time.
Yep.
That's awesome.
So I did high school drama, but I'm not an actor. I do like to sing. So
Never did theater growing up, but what fits in with everything else in my life is they had a contest for Wizard of Oz to design the set for it, and of course they took my design to use it, like in I think it was like 7th grade at like the community college. So that kind of showed me, yeah, you're not going to be front stage under the lights, but you'll be behind the scenes doing things, and that was just interesting how that worked out.
Laughing at Kent. Kent says I have the voice of an angel. Kent.
turn up your hearing aids.
Jamie said, thank Katie. That was an awesomely wonderful song. It made my day.
Cool.
So that's good. So, okay. So let's get into it's sort of our quick fire question section of the show. Although I tend to drag it out a little bit because I always want to ask follow-up questions.
No problem.
But do you want to ask the first one?
Yes.
Okay. What would you like to know? What would you like Greg to tell us?
What is your least favorite food?
Least favorite food. I didn't think of that one because I didn't hear that in your other. I did some cheating and listened to the other ones.
You just mixed up 2 questions.
Oh, no, I didn't.
Okay, I know what you're going to go ahead.
All right, what is your least favorite word? How about that?
Okay.
I can't read.
I don't have a least favorite word. I guess I don't like hearing no, but that sounds like, that's bad these days to say, like, no means no or anything like that. But I just don't like being told that. I'm kind of a guy, like, if it won't get done, I'm going to take a bulldozer and just plow over that thing and get whatever it is done. So yeah, there's really no least favorite word.
I hear you. That's like anytime Vicki's ever said that, like, she tends to be sky is falling, worst case scenario kind of person. And so anytime she says that something can't be done or something can't happen, it's like I'm such a stubborn person that it makes me want to prove her wrong. And,
Right.
and usually I do. Like when I was moving here, she was like, there's no way we're going to be able to fit both of our inventory in this garage, in this, the 2-car garage that we have. And I'm like, yes, we will. What are you looking at?
I'm looking at Deb and Mel. She sells resale. That is my least favorite word.
Yeah, I knew that. I didn't want to say it because I know you don't like it. So I knew that was your favorite.
Like pit to pit, moist.
Yeah.
Gross.
Well, Vicki, you did make me change. I used to put armpit to armpit, but now I changed it to underarm to underarm. So you did change me that
I'm
way.
trying to change reseller terminology one person at a time.
Yeah.
Yep.
So here's the thing I want to say about that. Because whenever stuff comes up, like, either using the words, pit to pit, or shipping things in like an old cereal box, you'll see like these arguments happen in Facebook groups where people are like saying, it doesn't matter to me. It's so ridiculous for people to care. And it seems like what people miss a lot of times is like, okay, we are the sellers, and our job, if we want to be successful, is we want the majority of the people we sell to be happy with their purchase. So if, let's say, even 10% of people would get really upset about getting their purchase in a cereal box, even if you think that's stupid, upset over it, why would you shouldn't do it just because you don't want to upset, offend, bother your customer.
That portion of people.
Yeah, because you're a business person. You want to make money. You want people to, so like pit to pit. If it's going to turn off, if there's like this really weird 15% of society who is strangely angry when they hear pit to pit, if that's going to turn them off from your listing and they won't even buy from you, then that should matter to you because you don't want people to be turned off by your listings.
So I'm reselling Diva and Amanda, Clark West Trading, their least favorite word. See you next Tuesday. Yeah, you wouldn't want to hang out with me because that's like my favorite word, and that's like my favorite bad word in the English language.
To me, it's all about context. Who's saying it, what their motivation is behind saying it.
I
hear you.
I understand that it's offensive. A lot of people find it offensive. I'm that person. I use it probably too frequently.
Wouldn't it be though, like if pit to pit, like that would maybe turn off someone from buying the item, but the other person who didn't care, I don't think that wouldn't bother them from like not buying your item. So I think that's why I kind of err to.
Oh yeah, I don't think pit to pit turns off a buyer. I think it just turns me off as a seller. I don't think it makes that much. I just think it sounds less professional. That's my personal opinion on it.
Like I won't like. But here's my thing: as a buyer, my big turnoff is when somebody says it comes from a smoke-free, pet-free home, because it makes me think of somebody smoking while petting their dirty dog. Cat. Like it makes me envision the opposite, and it makes me think. I don't know why, but it like grosses me out when somebody says it's from a pet-free, smoke-free home. It's so weird, but it makes me not want to buy from them.
Yeah,
I think we need to highlight my compliment from Jody, our Canadian posher. My hair looks amazing as hell right now. Thank you.
It does. It looks great.
Just had the hair did yesterday. Thank you to my hairstylist.
There you go.
It was because Kent was giving me so much shit about my roots. I had to go and have it done. It needed to be done. I was lazy.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we've got to ask. We got like.
Oh, we got more questions. Let me ask the next
6
one.
more.
Yeah. Okay. So here's the other question that Vicki mixed up with the first question. If you could only eat one food for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Pizza. I won't lie.
I was just thinking pizza.
I live in Chicago. I'm so spoiled. We have every kind of pizza here. And,
well, we've already done the research here, so we will let you we'll tell you where the good pizza places are because there are not many.
Okay. So let's take this a little deeper, Greg. If you could only have your pizza one way for the rest of your life, how would you order that pizza?
One way, probably just cheese.
Just cheese pizza?
If it's just one way, yeah. But I'd mix it up. Sometimes sausage, sometimes pepperoni, sometimes both, sometimes supreme. But I'm not a pineapple guy on my pizza.
I was just going to ask you that, Greg. And thank you.
I break the rule with hot dogs. I put ketchup on my hot dogs, but I will not put pineapple.
You put pineapple on your pizza, man.
Yeah.
Now, if you're going to buy your own pizza, then fine, put the pineapple on the pizza. But if you're sharing with others, you can't pick that shit off.
Yeah. Get pineapple juice.
The juice is on there.
Yeah, the juice is just
there. Off other stuff. You can't pick off.
I don't mind it, but I don't care. It's not something I order.
I don't want the sweetness.
But honestly, I am not picky at all. Any kind of pizza, Domino's, Pizza Hut, I'll eat it any kind.
You're making me hungry. We always do this at night.
Right.
Yeah.
So we'll get into food. Yeah.
Always about the food. All right.
It was literally a question about food.
I know. Seriously. But we'll get on a tangent and talk about food for 20 minutes. You know
right.
that.
I can do it.
All right. What movie can you watch over and over without getting tired of it?
Spinal Tap, for sure.
All right. That's a good one.
Because it's all true.
That's why I like Rockstar.
Right. Rockstar's a good one too. I don't think I ever turn that off if I see it. But
Rockstar, Almost Famous, those Rockstar's right up there for me. And because I also know some of the musicians that are in that movie that are playing on the music, you know, like it's kind of fun.
That really was my world. Like when they're talking about the jacket in Rockstar, like, you know, the dragon on the sleeve is wrong. You know, that was my world. I mean, because we went to that level with the tribute band thing, the right clothing, the right amps, the right guitars, everything. And that's the difference between a tribute band and a cover band. If the tribute band is like going that extra 5 miles to do all that, that's a tribute band. And
absolutely,
it used to kind of bother us, you know, being called a cover band, you know, because it was like, those are just 5 guys or whatever, 4 guys just playing the music. And that's great if that's what you know, want to do.
I'm laughing at Bonnie Curtis. I'm eating my ham and pineapple pizza in my smoke-free, pet-free home.
How dare you?
Nice.
Well, I enjoy Kent. He doesn't like pineapple on pizza either, and he says it makes the pizza moist.
Ugh.
Oh, okay.
Gross.
I will say we agree on our pizza choices. She's not a big pizza fan. However, there's like this really awesome pizza place here called Pizza Rev. It's similar to
Victoria just mentioned
Blaze.
it.
And so we go there and we get almost an identical pizza. We get it with the Alfredo sauce.
They're like the personal size.
She gets the mushroom one. It's already like pre-decided the toppings, but it's like Alfredo sauce with mushrooms and garlic, and then you add sausage. And I go the Alfredo sauce, mushrooms, olives, extra olives, with the garlic and sausage.
Now I'm hungry. Now we need to order pizza tonight.
Yeah, sorry, I wanted to make everyone hungry, but
yeah. Do we really? You guys, you heard it here. Order pizza.
All right. So your question.
Okay. So if someone narrated your life, who would you want it to be?
Oh man, narrated.
I mean, you say you want to write these books. So let's say it was optioned.
Turn it into a screenplay.
It was optioned to.
Right.
He would write the screenplay.
Okay.
Let's say it was optioned to be made into a movie, and it was the director decided he wanted to do the whole narration thing. Who was narrating your life?
I am. What's the guy? Captain Kirk from Star Trek. I think that would be interesting if he did it.
William Shatner.
Yeah, Shatner. And what's funny is I've been like, people think I look like him. I'll walk through a crowd and they'll be like, Shatner, and I'm just like, no, not in any way.
I feel like what about John Cusack?
Yeah, I think he'd do a good job. Yeah,
he's got because him and Joan especially has that like Chicago accent.
Yeah, it'd probably be a Chicago guy, Vince Vaughn, or.
I don't think you have an accent though.
Are you kidding me?
I do. I know.
Now? He has a very good
not only that, I mumble, so that's a whole other reason why I don't sing, because I just don't have a good singing voice, and I just got like a cramp in my leg. Sorry.
You definitely have an accent. He doesn't say that. He says that.
Yeah, I say Chicago, and a lot of people are like, it's Chicago, and
all right, guys.
Funny. Anyway, go ahead.
Here's the question, guys. Audience participation. If you think Greg does have an accent, hit 1. If you think he doesn't have an accent, hit 2. So 1 has an accent, 2 doesn't have an accent.
It's good. I don't have the chat on. I know it's all going to be 1s.
Doesn't have the chat on. See,
I heard it right there
because I had the echo thing going. I just gave up. I have it on my phone, but I can hardly. But I do see 1s. Yeah, there's a lot of 2s now.
I don't think he has
one accent. 2 no
okay,
accent.
here's a few Chicago words for you. The front of the house, that is like a living room. In Chicago, we call that the French room.
The French room, the parlor.
French room, yeah.
The parlor.
Yeah, and what are some other Chicago things? I mean, we have our own swear word in Chicago, and I'm not going to say that, but we're proud of that. And we actually even taught it to Bono, and he said it on stage. He just thought it was the funniest thing because he never heard of it, and whatever. So yeah. But I'm total Chicago, yeah.
There you go.
We'll skip that one.
But the winners are done. I'm done with winners.
Skip 5. Let's go to
Why are we skipping that?
I don't know. I already asked
What?
it. I was going for time.
Okay, sorry guys. Do you need us to wrap this up so you can go back to your boring Friday night being alone, Trish? Trish?
I'm good if you guys got
Don't
be skipping questions. Nobody's trying to hurry us along.
Bonnie, Curtis, and Trish are my East Coast girls, and they're
cool,
saying it's called the Pala.
Anyway, here's the question she was trying to skip. What are you most interested in, or what are you interested in that most people aren't?
Like everyday life or reselling?
Like is there like a certain hobby you have, or a certain topic, or maybe
I'm fascinated with
1812, and every time you start talking about the word 1812, people start falling asleep.
Yeah, I'm fascinated with vintage Vegas. I collect vintage Vegas, and obviously being in Chicago, I do find quite a bit of it. I have a nice big Home Depot box full of it, so that's one thing I'm into. I like history. I just like 50s, 60s history. I like some of the mob movies. I'm into that, and especially how that relates to Vegas. Through Chicago. Probably even bigger though is for a while I was really, really into conspiracy theories.
Ooh.
And I didn't believe them, but I fell down the rabbit hole with them and just studied as much as I could.
What's your favorite conspiracy theory?
Probably the most that I will debate is either 9/11 or JFK. Those are the two.
JFK is the biggest, right? I mean,
and as time goes on, you can talk about it more without offending people. I won't get into too much 9/11, but JFK, come on, a single bullet that made all those turns. There's just no way. And I really honestly believe Oswald was a patsy, because why would they were the inside people had people waiting for him at the bottom of the book depository, and the reason they didn't get him is because he left early. When he figured out, hey, I didn't fire any shots and there's shots fired and everything's going on, he freaked out and left the building early. So right there, that's a big thing for me. Obviously the single bullet theory, we can go on and on, but
I went to the repository a couple of years ago in Dallas. About 3 years ago or 2 years ago, when I was in Dallas, I went and did the whole repository tour.
Depository?
Repository.
Is it repository? Why do I think it's depository?
The book repository.
I don't know. Whatever.
Depository, isn't it? Depository?
I don't know.
But
anyway, I went to the place, and I thought it was fascinating. And I've read a lot about that stuff too. I find that kind of stuff interesting. For me, it's World War II is my thing that I love. World War II and. Did you watch that recent television show? I think it was James Franco? Yeah, it was. It's 1960. It's the movie 1963.
But it was a series.
It's by Stephen King.
It was a series. Have you watched that?
I haven't seen it.
James Franco.
But nobody's noticed.
But they turned into a Netflix movie.
Nobody noticed the silver thing to my left, I guess.
I can't see it.
Right there.
What is it?
Oh, it's his colander.
Yeah, but it's not just that. I'll show you.
What is it?
Are you a pastafarian?
No. It's my tinfoil head.
The hat.
The tinfoil hat.
Yeah, that's why you want to move to Vegas.
Right there. My tinfoil hat.
There you go.
With the lights.
All right,
with the lights. Custom made. I'm thinking about selling these on eBay if someone wants to buy it.
I love it.
I made it just because, people, they think you're a tinfoil head when you talk about this stuff. So I don't talk about it anymore. This is the first time I brought it up.
Do you ever go on Reddit? That you should go on Reddit and you can
talk about the rabbit hole.
Yeah, I don't think I could do it now.
John, I don't know how to say his name. I'm going to say
Malone.
Malone.
John, I know him. Yeah, he's the son. Okay, here's another aspect of my life is a guy that and John's a part of this as well, but John actually got us a lead for a storage locker, a 10 by 20 storage locker filled to the top with toys. I mean, just new old stock toys from 70s, 80s, just wheelhouse stuff. I mean,
that's awesome.
And so he got us the lead, but his dad I sold with for over a year at the flea market I used to sell at. And he has now come down with Alzheimer's. And I actually, talked him into going to eBay Open because, I just thought it'd be good for him. And plus, it's, my first open as well.
Oh, this is John that we met at Open then.
So you met Jim, his dad.
Jim,
you
his
met
dad.
Jim.
Okay.
John
okay.
is his son. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, it's just, it's great at least to be able to, help someone that has Alzheimer's to still do eBay. And I look over his account. We share the locker, so we split that, but then he also has his own stuff, and I help make sure he lists it properly and ship it. And then John does the shipping as well. So John's a big part of all this too. But yeah, Jim, he's a great guy, and I'm, learned so much from him. And he was a professional bowler, like he toured as a professional bowler. So he's got his rock star bowling stories as well. So.
Oh, Jinx Dick said, "Woohoo! Just bought your Scooby-Doo shirt. You can ship it anything you want, even a generic cereal box."
That's awesome.
Yeah, nice. It's like shipping records in a pizza box, right?
Yeah. Hey, those fit.
There you go. There you go.
The pizza box is clean anyway.
Right.
All right. So we got 2 more questions. If you could attempt any profession, what would it be and why? I'm going to pause you on that before you answer, because I feel like you've attempted and been successful at a profession many people only dream of doing. But if there was anything else that you want to do that you
never did, maybe when you were a kid you wanted to be an astronaut. I don't know.
No, I knew at a very young age that I wanted to just be a rock star. Really, I didn't know I wanted to be a guitarist until I was about 10 or 11, but I knew like at 7 or 8 that was what I wanted to do. And I just set all sights on that. I was not a good high school student. I barely got by, but I did graduate at least. And later on, went to a technical college for recording for radio and TV and everything like that. But if I had to do it over again, I wouldn't change much, but I would have a better, maybe later life plan B. That's maybe what I would change. Yeah. But again,
a lot of musicians don't do that because you're happy with the high and you're not thinking that when it ends.
Yeah, you're young, you're invincible, at that age. Sure. You just think everything. But here's another funny thing though about life is I've done that stuff, so it's just funny now, like meeting people my age who didn't do that, and now it's like, hey, we're getting the band back together at, like, they're all bald and 55 and 60, and they're getting the band back together, and they're like, you want to jam with us? I'm like, nope, did it. Been there, done there, got the t-shirt, everything, and I'm just not interested. And they think I'm
they're
nuts.
Done that, got the crabs, I'm good.
Right. So right.
Well, we know of people who are still, it's like they're 50 and they still think that at some point they're going to hit big being like an original musician. And it's like with their band. And it's like, that's just not, like, it's probably not going to ever happen.
Yeah.
Like,
some think that and some don't. Some just want to play
touring and stuff, but to actually like make it big on the radio,
we have a lot of friends that are working musicians, and the majority of them understand that they're working musicians and they're happy to have the gig because that's what they love to play, and they get paid and they're happy to do that. Like Dana's husband, he's a fantastic musician. He's also a realist and doesn't think he's all of a sudden going to start touring and playing for, stadiums. But, a touring musician or a band musician or plays consistently, he's happy to have consistent gigs. And I think that's the reality when you get to a certain age.
Right. You have to pay bills. So you got to find a way to make money, and you want to make money with what you love. So now that love is just, for me, reselling. And, we, as well as I know, if we just wanted to make money, we could do an Amazon thing and build it up and have 8 employees and just make money. But to me,
we'd understand the formula. We're not.
I'm smart. People. I'm good at this. When I first started with eBay, I started doing FBA at the same time, and I started making more money on Amazon than I did on eBay really quickly. But it wasn't fun for me. That's not fun. So I kind of am at this point. It's like why I don't list pants. I mean, it's silly, but it's like if I'm not enjoying the stuff that I'm buying and taking pictures of and listing, it's like I don't want it to be a chore. Like, once a year I have to deal with the taxes stuff, and that's a chore, but that's not my job. I'm not an accountant. You know what I mean? Right. So I want my everyday stuff to be fun.
Exactly. I wouldn't change what I do now or what I source now for anything really. So
what's your the last question, and then we'll maybe see if there's some questions from the audience.
Okay, last question. What's the funniest joke by heart?
I love light bulb jokes. I love light bulb jokes because they're poignant. They're, get a point across. And I have a couple that I like to tell. One, in the reseller community, I say, how many people does it take to change, or how many resellers does it take to change a light bulb? 1 and 10 to charge you $30 a month, to tell you how to change the light bulb. The other joke with, as far as guitarists, is it's kind of the same thing. How many guitarists does it take to change a light bulb? 1 and 10 to tell you how they could play it better, and everyone thinks they're better than the next guy, but what I can hang my hat on is doing the hundreds of shows that I've done. So many people can play better than I can. I am not anywhere near like Eddie Van Halen or someone like that, but I can put it all together to book shows, to do this and make a life out of it, and do hundreds of shows where a lot of people can play in front of their stuffed animals in the room and blow way by with my talent, what I have. So that's kind of, and you get those guys who can hide behind a computer and say, oh, I'm better than this guy, or I'm better. But hey, you just let it roll off your back because you're out there doing it,
All right, guys, if anybody out there has any questions you want to ask Greg before you wrap up, go ahead and ask them now. Greg, I think we talked about who your influences were as far as guitarists go. Who do you think is the greatest guitarist of all time?
Wow. Of all time, I would lean towards Jimi Hendrix. Would be a top pick. Just and even Prince for that matter. I mean, to me, if you ask me my overall musician, it would be Prince, because he did it all. He could play like Hendrix. He can write the hell out of songs. He can play any instrument, and he most probably did throughout most of his life. Hell of a performer. I mean, just overall, to me, it's Prince hands down. And I'm, I only like maybe 1 or 2 of his albums, but yeah, he was just phenomenal. But as far as guitarists and how he changed everything, it was Jimmy. And then I think, Eddie Van Halen changed everything after the 80s. Everyone wanted to do the two-handed tap thing on the neck. He influenced so many other guitarists from the metal, genre on. But yeah, if it wasn't for Jimmy, I don't think, even Eddie Van Halen would do the stuff that he did,
Yeah. So Reselling Diva wants to know if you only sell on eBay.
I sell on Etsy. I try Bananas is what it should be called. Bonanza, nothing sold on there. Mercari, I've sold a few things. I sell, obviously, flea markets, Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace. But I'm like 95% too many eggs in eBay's basket, and we haven't talked about anything recently with that. But my sales have just crashed, since the promoted listing thing. My sales are just down. So, and something I want to talk about with you guys, as well as input from other people. The trap I fall into is when things aren't selling, I get in that trap to the race to the bottom. I get anything like, well, they're not selling because my prices are too high. So I start lowering the price, and before you know it, you're selling $11 and $12 items, and that's not good. So, but when, you got a flow going with eBay, you don't think about lowering your prices. You just know stuff is selling, so you can keep up with all that and just keep listing.
Right.
But it's some kind of trap that I fall into with that. So
yeah, I hear you.
I think we all do sometimes. I think, when you're not having sales coming in, you're happy to just get any sales. So you kind of, accept the lower offers, or you send out lower offers to just get some action going. Right. I don't think there's anything really bad with that. I mean,
I don't change my prices.
People
I just
talk about
offers.
People talk about, you don't want to, you're not in the business of storing merchandise. You don't want a warehouse, but the reality is the three of us anyway are more in it for the slow dime versus the fast nickel. Right. So we do have larger inventories. But that being said, sometimes if it's reasonable, I've been doing that a lot lately in the past couple of weeks, because for obvious reasons, we've been having issues on the platform that really kind of started around the whole promoted listings change, and then just got tanked and worse when everything hit the fan a little over a week ago. Yeah. So, I personally have been one of those people. I was in sending out offers to watchers and going in and changing prices up and things like that, just to generate some activity in my store.
Yeah. Right. But I do wonder, like, how much I do think like that there's a little bit of the sales tax changes that could be contributing to lower sales. I mean, I know, California is one of the most populated states. I mean, is it the most populated state? I think I've asked before.
I don't know.
But I don't know about you, Greg, but we get a lot of sales out of California.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, starting October 1st, eBay started charging sales tax for anybody from California.
Right.
So if you are somebody in California who's doing some online shopping, you might go to eBay first knowing that eBay, you don't have to pay the sales tax, whereas if you go to Amazon, you do.
Right.
And now that you have to pay the sales tax on either platform, you might decide to go to Amazon instead. So I'm just curious if that has had any impact on like the lowering of people's sales.
I think it should have some, but the reality is it's going to be that across the board now. Everybody has to charge tax. So
Well, what I'm saying is that eBay might have been their choice because of the lack of sales tax. Whereas once you level the playing field between eBay and Amazon, maybe they would rather go to Amazon where they might be, more guaranteed faster shipping. And if they're going to have to pay that sales tax anyway, might as well go to this other platform.
Right. I have a question though. So I do free shipping on everything because I get my stuff for pennies on the dollar. I don't care. I don't pay attention. As long as it's selling, I'm fine. But I do notice a lot more people, they're smarter shoppers in California. They know, okay, if it's free shipping, I'm going to save, more money on the item. And, you win some, you lose some. So I don't cry about that. The thing going forward, though, I think in the next year or two, what are your thoughts are that they might require resellers to have insurance? I just was wondering what you're thinking, where they're going with that.
Like what kind of insurance? What do you mean?
Just insurance so people can't sue you if they buy your item and their kid gets hurt with it or something. They're going to make
like
it mandatory. Some kind of mandatory insurance.
Comprehensive liability coverage.
Right. And I think that's going to weed out a lot of sellers when they start going that
I haven't
route.
heard of that, actually.
Yeah, I know it's not a thing right now. I'm just thinking down the road, like a couple years, maybe,
If it ever did happen, then I can guarantee you that a lot of companies would spring up that would be specifically selling that kind of insurance. eBay would probably provide their own,
hopefully,
raise fees and stuff like that. I don't, it's going to be one of those things it's like when the whole tax thing started, people were freaking out and saying, this is going to put us out of business. There's all these different, states and counties and cities that charge sales tax, and no one person, small business can handle all this. And what happens when somebody, challenges whatever, they have to now you have to travel across the US to go appear in court.
Right.
And at that time I remember thinking okay, obviously if that happens, eBay's going to step in and they're going to be just like Amazon and they're going to figure out how to charge the sales tax. And it's, the cost is going to be passed on to us. We'll probably get higher fees at some point this year.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm still a cheerleader for eBay. I mean, the biggest argument I talk to people, there's so many fees. I'm like, okay, but at the end of the day, after all those fees, you still made more money than you would at your garage sale or your flea market, selling
Absolutely.
it. And
I don't mind any of the fees. My only thing is, can we get past the glitches?
Right.
I feel like they have them at a much higher rate than any other platform.
Right.
The way they deal with them is pretty problematic. As far as the fee, I think the fees are fair for the size of the audience that we get.
Right, I'm fine with the fees.
I think the fees are fair. I don't have a problem with it. Yeah, I get that it's hard if you are really working on tight margins, but I guess we don't, so we don't have to worry about that part of it.
I mean, you both can attest to this, I think, but 2 or 3 years ago, I mean, I was killing it. I was just making so much money on eBay. And about 2.5 years ago, as soon as I started hearing the word Cassini, it was almost like as soon as I started hearing that word, my sales just dropped then. And then I'm like, okay, I got to get through it somehow. And you just kind of regroup. And then sales came back slowly. And then now, since the promoted listings fiasco, they're back down again. Yeah. And it just makes you really talk to yourself a lot. Like, what am I selling? How am I selling it? All that. And you just got to answer all that. But then like 2.5 years ago, you're killing it with the same stuff. I mean, Vicki, we sell business. We're really selling the same stuff,
I've always kind of sold the same things. I've definitely increased my average sale price over the last several years, but I mean, my ASP when I first started was like $15. Now it's like 50.
Yeah.
But I've always sold the same type of things. I've literally sold all the things that you sell is the stuff that I used to sell and that I wish I could still find. Like I love ephemera. I love a lot of the older vintage stuff and antique stuff. I find it few and far between here. So I've kind of had to switch gears a bit, but, I think there's always something to be there. Cassini's been around for many more years than the 2.5 years. So let's not, that's really not it. Cassini's been around for like 10 years, maybe longer.
Okay.
But you know,
competition has exploded.
I think competition, people have said that all along. So as soon as people, I think YouTube has contributed to it. I'm not going to be that person that says, oh, YouTubers killed it for all of us.
I'm saying platform competition.
But there's platform competition, but there's also YouTube and social media and more people talking about it and it becoming trendier. Being a thrifter or a reseller, I think that has definitely bred more competition. So there's more stuff out there.
Right.
The reality is a lot of those people, at least 50% of them, don't make it a year.
Yeah.
Right.
Or if they make it that long.
Yeah.
And they just don't want to put in the work or the knowledge. So, you know, they're looking to do that quick flip stuff. And, you know, so that doesn't, you know, that's, you know, this job, this is a job and it is work just like any other job.
Right.
There is some skill and there's a certain level of knowledge to do well at it. So I think that weeds people out.
Well, and I think that's proven when you see some of these new sellers come in and the handful of them who are successful from the start. And it just shows you that, first of all, that there's still a lot of money to be made. And secondly, that it's like, it takes a certain kind of skill set.
Right.
And so, yeah, there's a lot more people out there. There's a lot more platforms. And so I think as far as the people go, it's like, if you're good, you're good and you're going to figure it out. Even if you see those ebbs and flows and stuff.
Mary Sullivan made the comment. It's absolutely true. Anytime they make a very big change on the eBay platform, you know, this glitch aside, and last year's picture glitch aside, but every time they make a very big change on the platform, there's so much that is happening behind the scenes in the coding that it absolutely affects sales. It absolutely affects traffic on the platform.
Right.
They do it over servers in certain areas at a time. They never roll it out, you know, 100% is happening at the same exact time. We're all having different things being tweaked on our stores at different times, depending on where we live or what server our store is on. Things
well, like you
that.
mentioned, Vicki, you know, they're doing a 1996 website, you know, technology. I mean, how can they fix that? I mean, can they start developing another newer website and then just everyone's going to have to bite the bullet some summer and switch over, or how?
You know, I feel like I wish that would happen. Honestly, I feel like that should have happened many years ago. They should have been building a parallel site at some point, and then they say, okay, we're going to shut down for 48 hours and transfer everything over to this new platform. But the reality is, I don't think that can happen, because if it could, they would have done it by now.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, it just seems like they're using a lot of duct tape is really kind of what it comes down to.
It's true.
And that's where you got to diversify and look at other platforms, look at other ways. And, you know, there was that article that came out with the quotes from eBay people where they're talking about, you know, it's not so much that there's all these misperceptions of eBay. There's the people that the younger people don't even think about eBay, because eBay's not on their radar with younger generation and stuff. So you got to look at like, where are they? No, you're looking at like, where are they buying? You know, and so for me, like, I'm trying to venture out into Instagram. There definitely are people who will never buy on eBay. And so it's like, it might be the best platform for the kind of stuff we sell, because it has the biggest audience, second only to Amazon. But there's other platforms that are coming up, and 1 or 2 or 10. I mean, Etsy's been around for a long time, and it's a great site to sell vintage on. And there's going to be other platforms that are going to come up, and they could explode right out the gate and become bigger than any of them. You never know.
Right. Bonanza's been around for 12 years, and they thought they were going to be the next eBay. They never did. They just carried it off the site and with an API code, and they don't advertise. And I still sell couple thousand a year on Bonanza. I've been on there for 10 years. It doesn't cost me anything. It's just an extra SEO.
It's always been easy to cross post. That's for sure there. I guess another question, I'm going to start selling more on Etsy, because that seems to be more where, you know, my wheelhouse with vintage.
Your stuff would do well on Etsy.
Yeah,
for sure.
I definitely, you know, and I used to sell more on there, but, you know, eBay was doing well. So I kind of just, you know, took my attention off of that. So I'm going to start listing more on that. The question about Instagram, though, is I'm thinking about trying to sell on there, but I'm thinking about maybe starting another Instagram account to do that.
Yeah. You know what?
Because I don't want to flood, you know, my radio stuff and everything with trying to sell something on that.
I think with Instagram, and okay, take this with a grain of salt, because I haven't sold anything on Instagram yet. So, but I think it's not like I know.
I think it's the way of the future.
And so what I was going to say, though, is that in my mind, it's really about having a niche. And so, You need to decide if you're going to start a store, it can't just be anything. It needs to be, because you want to build an audience and you want people who are looking forward to seeing your posts, because all you sell is really cool vintage toys or really cool, you know what I mean? It's so it's like, you don't want it to be where half the audience doesn't really care about what you posted. For me, I'm doing vintage streetwear. They like to see all the stuff I post because it's all stuff
that works for you.
Yeah, I mean, Katie, there's a comment in there. Katie's stuff would do well on Depop and Grailed, but the reality is that you need to divert some of your time and energy in order to use those other platforms. Yeah. And right now, there's not a large enough audience on those platforms to make it worth diverting her time from her primary platforms where she does sell. Okay. So if you know, that's the thing. When you spread yourself out so thin, you're not giving enough attention to any one of the platforms that you need to be doing. And you really need to like do that to make good money. Yeah. So I do think that that's where List Perfectly is going to come into play. When they add Grailed and Depop, you're going to be on there.
Oh yeah.
I told them easier.
I told them if they
add 3 or 4 at once, she'll be on there.
If they add Grailed, I'm all over it. I'll go for that.
Yeah. She'll be using it because right now she cross posts herself to Etsy. I think if you're only crossing to one platform, List Perfectly will save you some time, but it's not the be all and end all. You've got to be using it for 3 or more platforms to make it really worth it to make the to make it work for you in the way that it should. You know, if you're a small time seller or if you're only looking to go on one other platform, do it. You know, do it do it yourself. But List Perfectly is great if you want to get out there and go to several platforms for sure.
Yeah, I'm definitely a fan of the idea. I was on the waiting list, but I held off because sales just tanked and, you know, trying to make a move happen too. So I was like, I'll just pick up again, you know, when and if that happens, then I'll get it back on it. But no, I love the idea and it's long overdue.
Yeah, for sure. All right. I think we should wrap up the show. First of all, I want to get Vicki on camera saying that we get to order pizza. She said, I don't want her, because you can't get away with like saying it for the benefit of an audience. And then we get off of this and you're like, okay, let's go heat up some food in the microwave. No, we're ordering Naked City Pizza.
Taco pizza.
Naked City Pizza, which is a delicious pizza place. It was on, I always forget we both forget the diners, drive-ins and dives. Is that the right
word? Yeah, anyway, that sounds right.
Guy Fieri. Anyway, it's actually an amazing pizza. And what's crazy is that I don't know if any of you guys use like what are all the different like Grubhub and all the different like food delivery places. Like you order something that should be $20 and then you go to check out, it's like $50 because they add all these fees on.
Right.
For some reason, Naked City Pizza is like crazy cheap, even when you order it to be delivered. It's awesome.
Wow. Well, I think we've got a great comment there in the chat. I think Greg needs to play us out with his guitar.
That's what I was gonna say. So Greg,
all right.
Come on.
Well, actually, I came up with a song for the two of you.
What?
Yep.
All right.
And hopefully, I can get through playing it. I'm just gonna do a verse and a chorus.
Yeah.
I don't sing that well, and it's not a very well-known song. I was hoping the lag time wouldn't have been that off, because I wanted to see if I could get Vicki to sing to a song.
Moving properly, but we can hear you fine.
Okay. The point behind this song, one of the best things I ever learned from U2 and Bono was you can never argue with love, and that is just something that I've carried with me. And I think a lot of people, you know, Bono's a kind of a weird guy, but I think if everyone could take that part with it, I think it would be a better place to live in. But this is a song by Lou Reed, and it's called Satellite of Love. And hopefully I can do this without ending it. Let's see. Satellite's gone way up to Mars. Soon it'll be filled with parking cars. I watched it for a little while. I love to watch things on TV. satellite of love. Boom, boom, satellite of love. Boom, boom, satellite of love. Satellite, satellite.
Yay!
So
Can't top that. I think that's the best outro we've ever had to a show.
Oh, you're too nice.
That was awesome.
Thanks. But no, I've been following you guys for over a year, and I know some of the background that you guys had to put up with getting to where you're at, and I just couldn't be happier for 2 more people on the planet, and that made me think of that song, and I just started learning. I never really, I liked the song, but I didn't like it enough to learn. But the lyrics, I think, really fit well for you guys. So I'm hoping,
Oh, look, it just made me tear up. I cry about everything. I cry about everything.
Oh, I'm sorry, but yeah, no,
it was really sweet.
No, so but yeah,
Yep, so Candace is like, oh, Vicky's gonna cry. Yep.
Yeah.
I'm a big one like that.
I can't thank you guys enough, and this is really gonna kick me in the butt to do more with the YouTube, because I've been putting off getting a camera, getting a mic. It's one thing to film a video with your phone and put it up, but to make a little bit larger commitment to do more, you're asking me on the show will definitely, kick me in the butt to do some more.
Good. Don't be shy. You have a great personality. You have a lot of knowledge and background in what you do. And you have a great story. Like you've lived a good life and a great life, and you have a lot of.
That's the thing. Everybody's got a story.
You're interesting.
And, I love talking to people, and hearing their story. That's what one of the biggest things I liked about the flea market was, just the people that come through there. Sometimes they'll stop and talk to you, and before you know it, you're like, hey, they were a stockbroker or something, or they were, they did movies or whatever. I mean, and just finding out what they have. I mean, people who have like semi trucks full of stuff in their barn or backyard, and just what they collected. I mean, everyone's got a story, and that's what I love about it. So,
absolutely. Well, listen up, guys. I have down below. I have the link to Greg's Instagram. So go ahead and find him on Instagram, and he actually has a link tree which will take you to his YouTube channel of, I think, one video.
Yep. Well, I did post one for today.
So you go subscribe so that you will know when he starts actually putting out more content, and also his Facebook page, and I think maybe your eBay store too.
I don't have that on there, but the biggest thing is Instagram, because that's where I post like my hauls or some solds on there. So people
Amanda says we need to have a DuPage concert hall on the Roswell compound. So
compound, yeah. I'm all for it. Let's do it.
Awesome.
Greg, thank you so much. This was a lot of fun.
No problem. Definitely. Thank you for having me. Hopefully,
I can't wait until you move here. Yay!
Yeah, I really want it to happen. Trust me, I'm done with winters. I can't do it. And the older you get, the harder they get. So to get through.
Well, if you get here before Christmas, you get to hang out with us on Christmas Eve.
Yeah, you guys get an open invite to the open house on Christmas Eve. We have a good time.
You didn't tell us how the Roper romp went.
Oh, it was good.
It was fun.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Cool.
Yeah, we hit 3 of the 4 locations. We bailed after the 3rd location because we were leaving the next morning real early to go to the horror nights in
California. Okay. But yeah, it was a good time.
Awesome.
All right, we're gonna go order some pizza.
Nice.
All right, guys, we'll see you on Sunday for Sunday Live Haul. Thank you so much for hanging out with us, and Greg, thank you for coming and be on the show.
Thank you for having me. Good night.
All right.
Bye,
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.